Welcome to the Stand on Your Investment podcast, presented by UC Hunting Properties and Expedition Land Management, where professionals from around the country will dive deep into land management strategies, investing in recreational real estate, and all things hunting.
Welcome back, folks. Another episode of Stand on Your Investment. Today we're coming to you live from northern Indiana en route to see our good buddy Chad Thielen, newest member of the UC Hunting Properties community. So we're going out to get him and his team all set up and ready to rock for the year. So as always, I'm Kurt Headington with Expedition Land Management and, of course, UC Hunting Properties, joined with the one and only Travis Homily. He's actually the pilot today, or captain, I guess, of the ship. What is this, like a 2018 expedition, 2020 expedition?
Just requesting my flyby sooner or later.
So. Yeah, we're down with the flybys. Speaking of flybys, or fly guys, Chris Van Gerpen's in the back seat, and as always, our producer, the elaborate turtle, Tyler Dostal, running the board for us. So today, we're going to take a moment, since we just launched this podcast thing and didn't ever really give any narrative or mission statement to what the heck we're doing with it. We're going to break down UC Hunting Properties as we see it, maybe some of the goals and where we want to take this program for all the UC affiliates across the country, because the recreational hunting market and landscape is bigger than it's ever been. I'm sure you guys all just heard that phone ring, because Travis Homily's slinging land like it's cocaine. Can I say that on this? I just did.
You just did.
Yeah, it just happened. But we are live from a vehicle, so a little background.
We are close to Michigan.
Yeah. The state capital, the official flower of Michigan as of late. I'll let your minds wander on that one. But we are live. It's raining. It's been raining since we left Iowa this morning, jumped in with Trav in Wisconsin, and it's been raining all the way into Indiana, and we're a couple hours from Chad and his team. So anyway, little background noise. Bear with us, but we're going to dive into this. So I think Trav is the founder of UC Hunting Properties, and this thing dates all the way back to, I believe, 2014. But I'm going to turn it over to Trav just to give a kind of the high level on what started this, what his vision was back then, and it'll bring us today and our goals for moving forward.
Thanks, Kurt. I'll navigate this piece of it's actually aluminum. It's kind of like an aircraft, all aluminum and everything. But UC Hunting Properties kind of came about, in like all things in the world, in a weird, just kind of pops up. But we were doing an auction on a big tract of hunting property, and we built a custom website for this auction as part of the marketing plan. And thinking of a website that would attract people's eyes on signage and all that other stuff, I came up with a website, UC Hunting Properties. And throughout the campaign of that auction, I had people, buyers, other people going, what's this UC Hunting Properties thing? Is it a new company? And things like that. And from there, my mind just got wandering, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, UC Hunting Properties is the marketing tool for United Country, back then Homily Auction and Realty's hunting properties, then introduced to United Country affiliates in 2014. And from there, we've just been building on team members, content, and of course, website and listings, being on the website and exposing people's properties to the world, the agents inside UC Hunting Properties to the world, to create a marketing company based around the recreational and hunting world. And been plugging along with that ever since, continuing to grow. And I would say now we're in full tilt mode of getting this thing spreading viral throughout the United States and beyond.
I love the word viral. We're going to go viral.
That's trendy, isn't it? I mean, that's what my kids talk about.
I think it's like hashtag epic. I hate that word, but interestingly, Trav, thanks for the the snapshot in time of where we're at with UC Hunting Properties and where it came from, where we're going. And that's kind of where I want to take the conversation. Where are we going? And I think for anyone listening that's not familiar with United Country in general, they are the largest rural America brokerage in the country. I think combined it's, 4,000 plus affiliates, agents, 550 plus actual offices that house those agents. And their target market truly is rural America. It's not the metro areas and a lot of residential listings. It's country living. That's what they're selling. And obviously that's a broad term, and United Country does a good job with marketing, maybe the best job of any of the real estate companies. And they actually put buckets together, and those buckets are referred to as SPGs, or specialty property groups. And recreational hunting property, of course, is one of them. And UC Hunting Properties is basically the tip of the spear for that SPG.
Yeah, and with that, those different SPGs, United Country was able to come out with UC Ranch Properties that focuses on high dollar ranches throughout the United States. I mean, everybody thinks of a ranch, you're in Colorado, Montana, sitting on the set of Yellowstone or hanging out with the boys down at the 4.6s. But
well, I was going to say, since you brought it up, yeah, I mean, Don Bell's a living legend within the UC network because of his success with the 4.6 ranch down in Texas. I believe it was the single largest land transaction last year.
Yep. In the company, and might have been close to the United States for the world, but we don't have that documentation down.
Yeah, obviously very confidential in what that transaction, all entailed. But what we do know is outside of the King Ranch, the famous King Ranch down in Texas, arguably one of the largest blocks of land in existence, or dang sure at least in the state of Texas.
And iconic.
Oh, very sure. Iconic. Yeah. I mean, I think the movie Yellowstone, or I should say series Yellowstone, has really put a spotlight on it. And how cool is that for Taylor Sheridan, the producer at Yellowstone, to now have truly a slice of Americana in the 4.6's ranch. I mean, Trav used the term iconic. I couldn't agree more. But
that's just kind of the the different buckets. I mean, you see commercial. I mean, we dip into a lot of commercial stuff because rural commercial. There's
well, the equine side, I think that's a big deal. Being able to specialize in anything from a wind farm to a vineyard,
golf course.
I think United Country as a whole is the largest golf course or golf land brokerage in the country. That's a mouthful, but that's a big deal if you think about it.
It's that's kind of with the SPGs is kind of where UC Hunting Properties took off from. I mean, we were focused on those niche markets, and let's face it, there's a lot of brokerages and a lot of companies that in the last 15 years, especially in the last 5 years, entering into that rec and hunting land market and trying to capture it. But what we were looking at is not pigeonholing ourselves into just one market, but being able to work with all the SPGs, verticals, whatever you want to call them, inside a United Country. We focus on, UC Hunting Properties and the hunting land end of it because that's a lot of our lifestyle with running around the country, shooting big deer, big game, pheasants, ducks, you name it, just anything that gets us involved in the hunting. It's always hunting season.
Well, and I think you bring it full circle, and anyone that's in this industry, and when I say industry, I'm talking the outdoor industry. I think it's the lifeblood and passion, obsession, whatever you want to call it, of a hunter. And those moments are etched in stone. Their memories, their traditions. There's something to be said about a piece of recreational ground that you watch your kid take their first deer, their biggest deer, or you go hunting with your brothers and family. I mean, there's a lot embedded into this recreational hunting segment that's bigger than the amount of acres or what that said piece of ground's worth. It's it's kind of hard to describe, but I think anyone living that lifestyle, can fully appreciate it.
And you can stand on your investment.
We like to stand on your investment.
We're riding in the investment right now.
Yeah, riding in the investment, on the investment that we, the taxpayers, all made, and this road is junk.
Yeah.
But outside of that, bigger and better, I mean, I think that gives everyone a kind of a synopsis, just a little background information on how Chris and I got hooked up with Travis. We manage a large amount of private ground, and almost specifically for hunting. Number one, first and foremost, but of course, like everyone knows, there's more to owning land than just the hunting side. So Chris was a private farm manager for a large landowner throughout the Midwest, and long story short, that landowner has numerous companies within the outdoor space that Chris and I were associated with, and one thing led to another, and I think Trav's seen a vision of, a leader in the outdoor industry, in essence, holding hands per se and helping manage UC hunting properties, and a marriage was created there. So that brings us to today, and probably the key point of the discussion, where we're going with UC hunting properties, what we see in the marketplace, and what's going on. Trav did already start to go down the path that there are numerous companies that are truly trying to target this niche market, hunting land or recreational land, good, bad, or indifferent. The one analogy I've used, and probably the easiest way for me to explain what United Country has versus maybe some of the other perception-wise large players in the market, I would argue the market leader has to do with a deer's formal name and then the word properties. We'll leave that up to you to figure out. But I mean, the gist of it is United Country does approximately in a month what that competitor does in a year. But I think the perception in the marketplace would be that they're the largest, most powerful, I guess, recreational land company. And that's not right. And we're here to change that perception.
Well, it's nice when you can tap into the largest real estate company in the country. Even like, we aren't going to have every person in that 4,000 to 5,000 agents be in United Country hunting properties. Like, that's not going to happen, because not every one of those is qualified, I guess you want to say.
Well, and I think you touch on something there, Chris, that maybe we should discuss a little, right? So I do think a lot of those other companies with marketing and whatnot have painted a picture that any of their affiliates or agents or whatever are true land experts or hunting experts or some combination of the above. And the reality is that's not the case, right? So even within United Country, if we're sitting at 4,000 agents today, we might be talking about a group of 500 to 800 of them truly living this lifestyle that fits the mold of UC hunting properties. So that's the goal. The goal is that you'd be working with people that don't just talk the talk, they can walk the walk. They're tore up with it. They're probably managing their own piece of land and making improvements for hunting, fishing, all things outdoors regardless.
Well, and they have the access. Just because it's that smaller, what I would consider powerful, educated group, that group also has very easy access to every silo that we have in United Country. So that agent becomes more powerful. Your land becomes more desirable. It touches more eyeballs when listed, and gives the agent themselves a powerful marketing tool.
It's a big network, and that's one thing I'll touch on. I mean, a lot of these, the analogy we always use is that, like, United Country is a series of islands, and a lot of these brokerages may be the big fish on that island, but combined, there's no one that'll touch it. And I think that needs to be explained that way, because again, UC as a whole is a monster, and it's a good monster in the fact that within all these different brokerages, they may have 10 agents on the team. 2 of them would meet the requirements or whatnot to be a UC hunting properties member, but they may have somebody on there that only focuses on vineyards or horse farms. It's that's kind of what I think's the neatest part about UC.
Well, with that, I think Derpsy brought it up and you brought it up, Kurt. You know, with that, if I got a portfolio, and a lot of people that use real estate as a hedge or however their passive income, whatever they're using it as, they're in different buckets or silos or SPGs with their portfolio. And inside a United Country, if somebody's holding, you know, a vineyard, row crop, and hunting land, and as a commercial, commercial office building in some city inside of our system, United Country can help them with every single one of those buckets. And whether it's right inside of the state that the agent's dealing with that client, or if that client's got stuff in other states, we get on the horn and immediately find somebody that can represent that buyer or seller with either purchasing or selling their property, and they never leave the system and have the same marketing throughout the whole entire process with their portfolio, and it becomes a lifetime of I don't know what you call it, lifetime of
I think you're hitting on something there, Trav, because clearly you had the foresight all the way back in, basically 10 years ago or 9 years ago for sure. But I think statistically speaking, 90% plus of land searches start on the internet today. People go in and they type in, deer hunting ground in Iowa, or, duck hunting ground in Arkansas, or whatever it is. And that's where the search truly begins. And really that's where United Countries put a ton of their focus, is driving to the top of the search engines, with SEO or search engine optimization. They're the kings of it. They're pretty good at it. UC Hunting Properties being one of those, where the traffic on that site, you have a pretty target audience if they're landing at UC Hunting Properties. The beauty of it is they can be anywhere because we do have so many states in the meld, so many agents in the meld.
And the lead sources that are coming out of it, talking to agents, it's one of their biggest lead sources, and it's just because it's clean, crisp, and easy to navigate for people to get their info off of, and also the info for the agent that they can reach out to and either talk to them about listing their property or looking at a property that is for sale on there. So it is really agent based, and but if we look at it, we're really trying to help the clients with a better mousetrap.
Yeah, and helping the clients helps the agent, helping the agents helps UC, and it's a win-win solution for everyone. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I want to drive home, is you're going to start to see a very calculated approach to marketing this brand, and this brand being UC Hunting Properties. We have a very robust marketing plan ready to launch, and most of that is to drive awareness in local markets and ultimately get agents more exposure as being part of this network.
Well, and Tyler here from behind the camera. You guys normally don't hear my voice.
We call him Turtle, by the way.
You're still behind the camera.
Well,
there is no camera.
From my perspective, you guys have been in this a while, and I've been with you guys for about a year and kind of seen it. I've known Kurt and Chris, through the grapevine of the hunting industry and all that for a long time. But the one thing that I absolutely have seen in the time I've been with you guys is that, yes, we have the national reach, but every single agent we've worked with lives that lifestyle. It's not just, I'm gonna jump in and sell this piece of property because it's available for me to sell. Every single person we've worked with is passionate about what they do because they do that themselves day in and day out. Like you said, hunting seasons year round, and everybody is super passionate about what they do, no matter what avenue that is.
Yeah, I mean, hence the fact if you try to call Travis Homley between 6 and 8 o'clock during duck season, you're probably getting his voicemail, but I bet at 8:01 he's calling you back.
Well, the last couple of years, it's been a little quicker sits. We're limited out a lot quicker.
Here comes the bragging part. Yeah, I like it. But he probably does arguably have the best duck lease in the state of Wisconsin, so I can't I can't discredit what he just said. But Tyler, your insight's good on that, because I get the exact same read regardless of where we're at in the country. And we've kind of been all over the country this year getting this thing kicked off, and bear with us, because we're learning as we go. We didn't know what perfect looked like. I don't know that we'll ever know what perfect looked like, or looks like. But I can promise you we're going to strive to get it there and really shine the spotlight on the agents that do have that A-game level in real estate as well as in the hunting world. So it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to expanding this thing and really keeping the throttle down.
Well, and hopefully this particular podcast will answer some questions, because now that we've launched it and started to getting some traction on the podcast, people keep asking, well, what are you guys actually doing? And
We don't know.
well,
Day to day, we ask the same question.
Well, in my mind, the answer to that is connecting those islands, like you said earlier. You know, we're heading to Michigan right now to meet with Chad, because he lives that lifestyle and gets it, right? And so, you know, they're coming on with us, and that's the whole reason we were just down in Kansas with, you know, in southern Iowa with the Ammons brothers and Richard Blakesley and Bill Eberhart and all those guys down there, you know, and now we were home for what, maybe 24 plus hours, and now we're turning around and heading right to Michigan to keep connecting those islands and bringing that team, you know, elevating everybody at the same time.
Well, and Tyler, you're hitting on something. I mean, we're driving down the road today. Slade Priest, arguably probably the most well-known UC agent in the country, not to mention maybe one of the most successful, if not the most successful, hunt and land man. Little shout out to Slade Priest, but he called as we're going down the road, and he called Travis, and Travis is very humble, but he also runs in that top 10 click, kind of the big heavy hitter offices. He's a heavy hitter agent himself, but those guys use each other constructively to get better, to grow, to bounce out ideas off each other. And really, that's what we're talking about, is getting a network of agents together that are like-minded and can truly move the needle in the marketplace.
I mean, you look at it, we're kind of, in the healthcare industry, you have a general surgeon, you got an orthopedic surgeon, you got each different sector has their own specialties. No different than what United Country does. And I mean, you're not going to have your heart surgery done by a brain doctor.
No, but I'd take my odds with him.
Well, right.
So,
It's what they're passionate about. They learn about it. They read about it. I mean, the same thing with us. I mean, we listen to podcasts. We listen to, TV shows, read about, everything, land management, hunting, Kurt, you and I were just at the Land Expo in Des Moines, Iowa, to see where land values are going, what the new trends are. And I guess, the big takeaway is Alaska's open for farming is what I got out of that.
If you want to buy some primo Alaskan ground, there is an open number to the governor of Alaska, because he gets to cut those deals.
And the cool thing was last week, we just signed our first United Country office is in Alaska now. So we are represented there.
I think we're going to take a visit there, Trav. I think that's going to be our next, we should go there.
Well, I'll just tell the wife I'll be home in a week or two then.
We're not going until September, because I'm pretty sure that's when we could roll some moose up that direction. But
I do have connections up there, so we can make it happen.
Yeah, Turtle will get us the hookup in Alaska if you're looking. But I think that's a big point of this, that there's a huge network in UC inherently. This being one of the SPGs that we're trying to head up and lead and truly make it the market leader if you're looking for recreational land. The expedition land management side of the business that Chris and I are with, that's more of the land management and the evolution of the hunting space. I think, I'll be 42 next month, and I think back to even what things were like, or what we did or did differently, I guess, 20, 25 years ago when I started being real serious about trophy deer hunting specifically. And the game's changing and it's evolving, and that includes what we're doing as landowners or agents, brokers, whatnot, playing in this space. The game's changed a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean and that's part of the reason. Obviously, that's why we started this company. I don't know how many years ago now, Kurt, but the beauty part about the UC Hunting Properties and Expedition Land Management partnership is they get to use all of our tools. You know, they get the opportunity to do that. Well, maybe they don't consider it as an opportunity, but they have access to a lot of the things that we do inherently, which allow them to, you know, move on and find that next listing and continue to serve their clients.
Yeah, and Chris, I think you're starting to go down the path of the services provided. You know, what does an agent or a brokerage get from the affiliation or partnership with UC Hunting Properties? And I think the one thing that's become glaringly apparent is the marketing side of recreational or hunting farms. And that's something we've really changed our focus on, whether it's, you know, going down and filming a property profile, that it includes a plan. Like, how would we envision that said property be set up for hunting, maybe the best use for hunting, and being kind of the consultant end of the relationship. So I think it's going to continue to evolve. I think it's bigger than it's ever been, and I don't see the end in sight. I think the guys that are tore up with hunting are going to be tore up with hunting, and ultimately it's everyone's goal to own their own dirt, you know, and to stand on their investment.
It's truly the American dream. And I mean, you were kind of going somewhere, Kurt, and it kind of clicked into my head with, I think the other thing, you know, we run into a lot. I mean, I do personally, and I know some of the other, you know, land agents in the system do. We run into that property that, you know, I'm just going to say a lady owns because her husband died 10 years ago. The local, you know, farmer's been farming it. The neighbor's been hunting it. And, you know, the farming is kind of not as sexy looking as it was at one time when it was manicured and all that other stuff. It's going in, helping with that plan of what's truly the best way to set this farm up, but not, giving them the roadmap to a property, whether it's done before the listing, during, or after the listing, to virtually stage the property so the next person can see the true value and of the property and get to use it right away and have an idea. Because sometimes it's like looking at a salvage yard and you want to buy a car.
Right.
Which one's going to get you home?
Right.
You know, looking at, I mean, it just looks like a bunch of junk. Some properties you go to don't look the greatest because there's a stack of tires 10 feet tall. You know, every combine that farmer owned since, you know, his grandpa was alive is sitting on the hedgerow. You know, what to do with this. And I think with the staging processes of that you guys have done on a few properties, I mean, one in particular, we set that one, you know, we're going to set that one up, and the guy looked at the plan and didn't want to sell it.
We almost did our job too good on that one, right? But and I'm with you, or I'm right there with you, Trav, on where you were going with that, because staging a farm does sound weird, but in the same sense, that landowner may think their farm's a cattle farm. Mm-hmm. Right? And in their mind, it is a cattle farm. And in reality, we'd look at it and go, no, that's a great hunting farm. And it's just a truly different way to market it. So maybe it entails, you know, enlisting the help of somebody local or us for that matter to get in there, get some trails groomed so that you can show that property properly and really let a potential buyer see the true value in it.
Well, and I mean, it's not, you know, we've heard a couple times about staging farms is a weird concept to some people, but you look at any sort of residential sale, they're going to stage that house before you come in.
They're going to bake cookies and all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for one of y'all to bake cookies.
No, you don't want us baking cookies. Maybe our wives, but not us.
That's true.
I'll warm them up in their
Turtle
microwave.
hasn't missed a whole lot of cookies.
Hey. No, but I mean, and I'm going to pivot here a little bit, you know, being the guy kind of behind the camera most of the time and getting this podcast rolling. We've all kind of been a team effort on that. But what do you guys see going forward? Like, what is the immediate next step for UC Hunting Properties? I know our big thing is getting in front of people and really, showing, not just saying that we, as well as all the agents, live that lifestyle. And I preach that because that's one, it's my job, but two, it's a really important thing for, potential clients to know, is that we're not just here, selling land. We're here, making that investment a reality for a lot of people, and bringing the whole, outdoor space together in that pursuit of standing on their investment and stuff like that. So, like, again, question: what is the number one thing that UC Hunting Properties has? What's the big next step going forward?
I think exposure, to a different audience, and the hunting industry, people understand it, but having people outside the hunting and outdoor industry seeing the value that a land agent can bring in, through the UC Hunting Properties United Country real estate platform to maximize their dollars on their farm or ranch, or just a little hunting property that they have with a house on it. I think it's overlooked a lot, the recreational value of a property. Everybody looks at tillable and timber, but we were on the phone with Slade this morning. It's like, yeah, we can look at what the timber's worth, what the ground's worth, but what are the assets that are continually holding for history, whether it's a white-tailed deer, elk, pheasants, quail, on this particular property in this particular region, is a huge price add, in my opinion.
Well, and good, bad, or indifferent, Trav, every industry markets themselves for whatever purpose or reason or whatever, right? At the end of the day, we are in the land buying, selling business, period. But when perception's reality, and I think everyone can agree to that, perceptions are usually formed around marketing efforts of companies trying to get people to have that perception of a brand. And that's really what we want to help drive home with the UC agents and brokerages across the country is join this team. There's strength in numbers. We're all bigger and better because of it. And that's really, I think, where the future lies is getting the message out. And again, I'm going to say it, we're going to put our foot on the pedal and smash that thing to the floor, marketing the UC Hunting Properties brand, because we know we're best in class, and we want the world to understand that.
Absolutely.
Top that one, guys.
He's making it tough to come back with anything, but to add on to that,
I'll be here all day.
whether we like it or not. But to add, no, I'm just giving you a hard time. But to add to that, we're going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic coming up here. We're going to be at a bunch of different, it's convention season. We're going around the country, meeting, shaking hand, kisses babies, all that stuff. But the real thing is, like you said, we're putting our foot, pedal to the metal and really trying to connect all those people. And I think a big part of that coming up here is, taking this podcast to a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places. And this, I actually want to ask the audience, if there is something specific you want us to talk about, or someone specific you want to hear from that we want to get on the podcast, let us know in the comments or anything like that, because that kind of helps us, make sure we're giving you guys the information that you want. And at the end of the day, kind of like what Kurt said, we're here to serve the purpose of UC Hunting Properties, and whatever that, entails going forward, I think is important.
Well, and actually that's probably a good segue into kind of how we see the format of the podcast and a lot of the content creation we're going to be working on around the country, because it truly is around the country. We got a call the other day. We're going to be heading up to Maine to look at a whitetail farm. And I know Maine's barely even on the radar when you think of big whitetails, but the reality is there's probably more wild space in the state of Maine than virtually anywhere, yet there's very little management process happening up there. So a lot of the techniques we use in the western states, in the Midwestern Corn Belt states, a lot of that would apply in theory up there. And I guess I bring that up because I think the format and where I was going with this is you're going to see us do a fairly wide array of things on this podcast. I think namely exposure, right? We're going to be around the country. You're going to be able to hear from different agents that live the lifestyle and understand their market. So maybe you're looking for a property in Virginia. Well, we'll go down there, work a project, and we'll get a local UC Hunting Properties agent on the phone, and we'll talk specifically about Virginia or Colorado or wherever the job takes us. But I mean, that's one facet of it. I think another facet of it is we'll be talking about land management practices. And not all of it applies across the country uniform, but if you can take a good little nugget out of that, whether it's about native grass or timber stand improvement, or maybe it's food plotting, I have no idea. But we'll try to ingrain some of the principles we use when it comes to management techniques and elaborate on them.
And that's why we want the local expertise. I mean, I can tell you how to shape a food plot and that you should have one there, but the guy, that local UC Hunting Properties agent, he's going to be able to say this grows really good here, you know, and those types of things. And that's why it's important to have those assets in our tool belt as well. Have those agents and knock ideas off of each other, because you don't learn anything if you're just sitting in a hole by yourself.
Well, and I think the other side of that, taking it all the way back to the client, there are a lot of UC clients that are truly investors, and because hunting's their passion, they may own land in 5, 6, 7 different states, and it's literally so that they can spread their hunting out. Their season starts earlier, it runs later. The rut's slightly different in this area than that area. And I do think that local expertise becomes a big play, because as more and more people look to move portions of their portfolio into this game, being able to have experts at every turn is critical.
Well, and case in point in that is, we did some work last year out in Virginia with Hal Schaefer and everything on a project they're working on. And be honest, the soil and everything that we had to work with food plots and stuff was...
It was probably the worst I've ever seen.
I mean, it was horrible. There was, what was it? What was the number for like organic matter? It was like 0.001% organic matter. And what did Chris and I do? We went and found a local to ask, okay, what works in this dirt? What works? What have you had success with? And then we implemented it. And I think that speaks a lot, not just necessarily on the land management side of things, but even on the real estate side of things. Talking, like you said, Kurt, with that local expertise, those local agents, they know what works in their neck of the woods, and that's a resource that you would be, insane not to try to use to the best of best of your ability.
One, and I think in summary, that's the best way to explain it, right? That your experience, say, in Wisconsin with the UC Hunting Properties agent should look, feel, and be very similar to what you'd have in say, Montana, right? You may live in Wisconsin, but you play in Montana. Well, we pick the phone up and get you in touch with our crew out there. We know you're in good hands and you're talking to experts. And that's really the goal, top to bottom on what we want to do with UC Hunting Properties.
I think that pretty much covers it all. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited for this trip to get to Michigan here. The weather's a little crappy right now. But
well, we're not going to be ice fishing, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's true.
We wanted to ice fish. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to have to go get some tilapia to eat tonight. So.
Chad Thielen failed us, and he was supposed to produce 12 to 14 inches of ice in the last week, and that just plumb failed. It's crazy. It's we're pushing into the latter part of January in the Midwest. I'm looking down, it's 34 degrees right now, and we're driving through rain, not snow. So, we're getting long-winded, boys. We'll cut this off, but hopefully this gives everybody a little bit better idea of who UC Hunting Properties is, our goal, our mission. And as we expand this, you're going to be part of it. We're going to have agents and brokers on as regular guests, and to put a spotlight on a specific region of the country and truly have an expert there to visit.
And then every once in a while, we'll have a special guest outside of the real estate end of it to kind of get their perspective on just land, hunting, whatever their specialty is.
Yeah, I think Trav, you bring up a good point, because we'll definitely bring in some industry folks, different people within the outdoor industry, all different walks of life. Some of them will be TV folks, some of them are going to be on the manufacturing side. We kind of have access to a lot of experts within the space. If we think it brings value to any of the listeners, agents, brokers, we're going to bring them in and get you guys introduced to whatever they are and whatever subject they're an expert in. I think that'll happen. I think you're going to see us have a long line of outfitter or professional hunter type people on the horn at times. We'll try to keep it exciting. We'll try to keep it fun, and at the end of the day, everyone can take a little nugget out of it. Is really the goal.
Might be funner for you after No Drink January, huh?
Yeah, the podcast should get more exciting starting February 1, because I'll be back on the can. Yeah, here we are, 16 days into it, and I still haven't broke out in a cold sweat, so I think we'll be all right.
Well, we're good.
All right. We're good. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it,
Peace
guys.
out.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Stand on Your Investment podcast, presented by UC Hunting Properties and Expedition Land Management.